Greetings guys, gals, non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. It was brought to my attention the other day that Isaac Butterfield has made a video about me, which explains a lot because I got a massive surge of like men in my comments just like saying stuff, and I was like, where did you all come from? Why are there so many of you in my comments? And then someone brought it to my attention that Isaac Butterfield made a video about me. So I thought that it would be fun, if that's the right word, to sit down and watch his video, see what he has to say, and just talk about it. Watch it. I'm intrigued. Let's see if I can make it all the way through the video without getting my feelings hurt. That's the goal. And I am currently actually trying something different, and I am watching this live for my patrons on Patreon. So if you want to see me do that sometimes, because I'm going to try start doing that more, then you can join Patreon at patreon.com/savvycat, and I appreciate it hugely, so thank you. Anyway, the video is titled, "This Angry Lesbian Feminist Really Hates Men." This isn't the first video he's made about me. I made a video about him about a year ago, and then he responded. I didn't watch that. I meant to, but I never did. Where he also called me a lesbian in the title. And so before we even get started on this, I need to clear the air here and say I am not a lesbian. I am queer. Do your research just a little bit, just a little bit. You obviously have never watched a video of mine because I talk regularly about my relationships with men and being attracted to all genders. So already off to a rocky start, so I don't really expect much to be said. I feel like he's just going to insult me. Usually these are just insults, right? I've never actually watched a video made about me because I don't really want to, but you know, I can do this a bit better because he's Australian and I don't take Australian seriously. So let's watch.
Ladies and gentlemen, she is back, the queer Kiwi, and this time it's not very personal at all. It's more of a check-in, all right?
Okay, we're already off to a start where he showed a couple of my old TikToks, and I am absolutely begging. I am like on my knees, begging people to stop using my TikToks when they're talking about me. I have not uploaded like TikToks for like 3 years. Like, leave it alone. Let it go, okay? Everyone always brings up the same TikToks that like offend them. They were like some of my really popular TikToks that I got a lot of shit on at the time. They always bring them up, and I'm sick of seeing TikToks of me 3 years ago. Like, if you're gonna insult me and you're gonna talk about my content, can you please just use stuff I've made recently? Please? I'm not saying I disagree with what I used to say, but but just leave it. Please, stop. Stop it.
This time last year, she made a video about little old me, and she wasn't very happy with me at all. Isaac Butterfield thinks he's clever and funny, sad face. Anyway, she's sort of right, I do find myself very funny, and I responded with my very own video, which I thought was marvellous, and that was about it. I won, she went back to, I don't know, dyeing her armpits.
You didn't win. I just couldn't be bothered watching the video. I just like didn't feel like it. I wouldn't call it a fight. I wouldn't say there was a winner or not. I just like could not be bothered because I just did not care. So
She really does that.
I don't think it would work, but I'd love to be able to do it.
Could you do rainbow?
I did this once 3 years ago again. And I did it just because I had leftover bleach. And I was like, you know what could be fun? I'll dye my armpit hair. Leave me alone, man. Let me do what I want. It was a fun time.
She has been uploading content, and it's as marvellous as you'd imagine. Here's a video. Are the straights okay? Spoiler alert, they aren't! Conservative TikToks are a living nightmare. Sir, have you ever spoken to a woman? The nicest man on the internet. Aren't straight men meant to like women? ... And my personal favourite, bread is better than people. Asexual memes. Wow. I feel sorry for the LGBTQIA plus community because this is the content that they're dished up.
What are his videos called, all right? The Angry Lesbian Feminist Really Hates Men, Woke Comedy Is Not Funny, Arrested for Telling a Joke, The Truth About Pride Month, The Death of BuzzFeed. Like, You want to talk about my videos being like, I feel sorry for the queer community because this is what they do. You are just dishing up the straight version of what I'm dishing up, but yours is like laced with like bigotry. So I don't know what your point is here that you're trying to say. You think your videos are like above mine in terms of what they're titled. Like I also title my videos based on what I think people are going to click on, in the sense that like I take the core part of my video or I title it based off of a specific post that I think is the most attention grabbing part of the video, as everyone does. You're not better than me.
Here is the Kiwi lady of queerness reacting to what she labels conservative TikToks.
Cow achievement. Trans women can indeed lactate.
Is it really a conservative person's opinion that men cannot breastfeed?
It is a conservative opinion. Yeah, it is a conservative opinion. Yes.
Or is that just a logical thing to say because they can't?
But they can. That's literally what I say. I need to get better at this because I literally pause every 10 seconds and I need to just like let them finish speaking. But like, yes, it is a conservative opinion because, as I'm about to say, and as she is saying, biological males can lactate. You don't even have to be trans to be able to do that. You don't even have to be on hormones. There are cases of like cis men lactating. It's literally science. She's saying that she can lactate. So then she can't. Then biology says that she can. And if you say no, she can't, that is a conservative opinion. I'm gonna need you to tell me where the problem lies and what's off-putting about this.
It's a dude. It's a dude making milk. What is that milk? That's horrifying.
I feel like he's not adding anything to the conversation here, even a little bit. He's just reacting to the TikToks that I already reacted to. Why? Why though? You still didn't answer the question though. What's off-putting about it? What is the milk? What is any breast milk? It's the same thing. It's milk that your body produces. There's been like documentation of like even men
Many documents.
lactating for a long time.
Possibly.
Like it's not unheard of. I'm sorry. I love that I pause and I say my point and then he hits play and then I say the same point that I just said. This is just a lot of back and forth because he's not adding anything to the conversation and then I am also not adding anything to the conversation because it's a conversation I have already had.
It's rare and also illegal in most countries. In Saudi Arabia, if you start lactating, you will be thrown off a bridge.
Something being legal/illegal and moral/immoral are not the same thing at all. It's gross because it's illegal in some countries. That means literally nothing. In some countries, I could be executed for being queer. Like slavery used to be legal. Does that mean it's okay and moral? No. There's a lot of shit that's legal that shouldn't be, and a lot of shit that's illegal that shouldn't be. Legality and like the okayness of something are absolutely not aligned. Not all the time. Sometimes yes, like, you know, murder bad, but a lot of the time it's not. So you're not really doing anything by being like, well, it's illegal. I don't care though. I don't care.
I don't disagree with her on everything. I agree with her pretty much on abortion. I'm mostly on board for that. I just think she has been swept up into this cult.
I'm glad you agree with me on some takes. Great. I'm glad that you're for abortion rights and like bodily autonomy in that sense. However, though, saying I've been swept up into a cult, which I'm intrigued to hear you possibly explain what that means, is just completely inaccurate in the sense that I have formed my own opinions. I was raised in a household where I was taught that everyone is equal and that we should all love each other and care about each other and not judge. And so that's just what I do. And as time has gone on, I've like developed my empathy further and I've looked at the world and like had a better understanding of people and kind of just, I live my life being like, hey, everyone, live your life the way that you want to. And I don't think that there should be anything stopping you. If you are not hurting yourself and if you are not hurting anyone else, That's great. Good for you. And I don't think there should be any laws that stand in the way of that. I don't think there should be any lack of opportunity. I just think that we should all be able to live our lives and respect each other. As long as no one is getting hurt, which no one is getting hurt.
I wonder how she fell into this cult. Who knows?
My parents tried really hard to raise me gender neutral. They never checked what gender I was going to be because they didn't care. It didn't matter.
Oh, it was your mum and dad's fault.
What? My mom and dad were like, I don't want to raise you with gender roles. And so that made me join a cult. My parents being like, hey, women can achieve things too. Hey, you're allowed to play with cars as a kid. Hey, you're allowed to express yourself freely. That made me grow up and become part of a cult. Did it? Or were you raised in a way where gender roles were forced on you and you had to live your life a certain way in order to fit into societal boxes? And now you view everyone outside of that as being in a cult, despite you being the one who is following what you were like told to do by society. My mom said that she got a lot of weird comments and people, what is happening with that music in the background? I'm pretty sure that music wasn't in there. Also, where did you find this? I like forgot I did this. This was for, I can't remember, Pink News or something that they uploaded on Snapchat. Where was this on TikTok? How did you find this? What did you search? Because I genuinely just forgot about this and I have not come across it since it was posted.
Ooh, I like your pins.
We should support those who are trans, no doubt. But should we also cultivate them? I don't think so.
I don't think telling children trans people exist is making people trans. That's just not reality based at all. Just like telling people gay people exist doesn't make people gay, you know? All gay people were told straight people exist. They're still gay. All trans people were told cis people exist and they're still trans. Like, we're taught our whole lives to be cis and heterosexual. And then, surprise, surprise, people aren't. Like, I'm not queer because I was told it's okay to be queer. I'm queer just because that's who I am and how I am. Like, it's got nothing to do with what you're taught and what you're told. Being taught and told about the existence of queer people is just making young queer people know that they are safe and accepted and normal. Because a lot of people grow up hiding it until they're much older, or some people don't ever come out at all because they don't feel safe, because they've been told that it's abnormal, because they've not ever been educated about it or anything at all. It's about making a safe space and telling kids that they are okay and not alone. You know?
My pronouns are they, them.
I'm Sam. I'm she, they, but you already know that.
I just don't think this is helpful. Gender dysphoria is a legitimate medical condition, but we are seeing the rise of it throughout the Western world. Nowhere else, just throughout the Western world.
I think that the reason it's happening more in the West is because, yes, there's education around it and like there's more acceptance about it. Like you said before, in some parts of the world, you will be severely punished for this. It doesn't mean trans people don't exist. It doesn't mean that children aren't struggling with gender dysphoria. It just means they aren't safe to come out and talk about it. There is a rise in it because it is safer. And yes, because we're educated about it and because you are learning, like, it is okay if you feel like this. You can express that. You can be yourself. That's what it is, you know? Guys, we need to crack out the left-handed graph again, because I don't know how many times we can talk about it. I don't know how many times we can share it, but no one ever seems to pay attention to it. The replies to every single comment like this on the internet is always the left-handed graph, and no one has ever paid it any mind. Once being left-handed stopped being punished and started being accepted, there was a massive, massive surge in left-handed people, and then it flattened out once it was just overall accepted and no one got punished for it anymore. There is a rise because people are allowed to express it now, so the number is going to go up. A lot of people have struggled with gender dysphoria their entire lives and never knew what to do with it, never knew what it was, weren't able to act on it, and just lived with that struggle forever without ever talking about it. Now they don't have to do that. If you look at the rise in even trans adults is higher as well. It's not just kids. And kids who realize they are trans are not just going out and starting to take hormones out of nowhere. You have to go to therapy. You have to talk to a team. You have to talk with your parents. You have to do a lot of stuff. It's not as easy as just like a small child being like, I identify as a different gender than when I was born. I'm going to go take hormones. That's not how it works.
Now, why is this? It's because children are learning about it at such a young age. They're understanding that this is now an option. They're taking that choice and they feel a bit better. And then all of a sudden they start taking drugs. And then they get surgery. And then they usually get a bit older and they go, holy fuck, what have I done? Why did my parents allow me to do that?
I love the like, and then usually they get older and they're like, oh my God, what the fuck did I do? That's not true even a little bit. There are very, very few people who detransition. Like that is not a common thing. And a lot of people who do detransition due to the lack of acceptance around them. And most people who do transition, who take hormones, who get surgery, live much better and healthier lives and will actively say that transitioning helped save their lives, and without doing it, they would not have made it.
There was a study conducted in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s. Young boys who believed that they were actually gender dysphoric. They were the other gender. Now, what happened, right? When they followed up with these young boys as they got older and became adults, most of them turned out to be gay men, and most of them no longer felt gender dysphoric. They grew out of it.
But here's where a problem comes in, and I don't know if they went into this in the study or anything. I haven't read the study. But if you keep in mind heteronormativity and how strongly that is enforced, if you are told that boys like girls and girls like boys, that's how it is, then boys who don't like girls and who find themselves liking boys are likely going to then transform that in their minds and be like, oh, so I must be a girl then because girls like boys. Yeah? Like that makes sense. That's a logical thing for a child to believe when all they're taught is heterosexuality. When you give education about what being queer is, what being gay is, and what gender is, then you are going to be more informed and knowing much more what you think and believe. If you know that, hey, boys can like boys too, then you are less likely to feel like you are the wrong gender in those instances because you are aware that boys can like boys and it doesn't mean you are a girl for liking boys, you know? That's one of the reasons why it's so important to be educated about sexuality even at a young age, because it will stop a lot of confusion and a lot of people not understanding what's going on and thinking that there's something wrong with them when there's not.
Which is a great example of why we shouldn't give children hormone replacement therapy at 14 fucking years old to stop puberty. Because it's going to fuck them up for life over a decision that they've made as a child, which they would likely, as the science has shown us, change that decision completely as they got older.
Going on puberty blockers and hormones when you're 14, you stop taking them and your body just produces its natural hormones again. It's not it's not that difficult to comprehend. Puberty blockers especially are reversible. You just stop taking them and then you go through puberty. And again, a lot of people don't go through that. A very large majority of people do not regret the decision that they have made.
I know I'm safe when I'm with my friends or other non-binary people.
Non-binary?
People who aren't female or male. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have assumed.
I always knew my pronouns felt right.
This is fucking insane. It's a kid's show.
I think this is so cute. This is so lovely.
I knew you'd fucking say that, but it's a kid's show. Leave kids alone.
No one is doing anything to kids. It's just teaching them stuff. It's educational. That's it. Kids learn stuff. There's a lot of other shit that gets said all the time that you don't have a problem with. There's way more problematic heteronormative and cisnormative television that you don't blink an eye at. Like learning about pronouns and gender is like something that you do. In primary school, you do it like the second you start talking and learning grammar and shit. And like, it's not indoctrinating anyone or anything. It's just teaching people about people. That's it. That's it. Get over it, okay? Just get over it.
10 years ago, there was 250 referrals to a gender clinic in the UK. Last year, 5,000. So is it catching on or what?
This whole social contagion thing, you keep saying it. I've already said my piece on it. I've already said that it's about validation and feeling safe. Like, that's all it is. More people feel comfortable and safe talking about that part and asking for help and validation. That's all it is. You know? And like, I guess that's why the gender therapy exists before you can go on hormones, before you can get surgery, etc. Is they have to do mental health screening and you have to talk about all of this stuff because they want to make sure that that is truly the decision you want to make and truly how you are actually feeling. They don't just go and like prescribe you hormones all willy-nilly without any mental health support. You always get mental health support with it. That's part of the deal.
Because once you start changing your appearance, you're not going to change it back. If you're a young kid, a young boy, and you start dressing like a girl, it's going to be very hard for you to change that once you get a little bit older, right?
I don't think that's true at all in the sense that like the way you dress and present yourself definitely changes over time. Absolutely. And I also don't think we should be putting gender on what clothes we wear. Saying like, if you're a boy who wears dresses, you're just gonna always wear dresses your entire life and then you're gonna think you're a girl. It's like, everything about that statement is incorrect. Like, one, dresses are for everyone. Two, you can wear dresses for one period of your life and then never again, and that's fine. I am a great example of that in the sense that I was very girly as a child. I loved to wear fairy dresses and tutus and pink, and that was everything. That was all I did. And all of the colors I wore, everything I wore. I went to school and all the girls there were like, I don't like girly things. I don't like the color pink. I don't like any of this. And I, desperate to fit in, was like, oh, neither. I also don't like any of those things. And so I did change my appearance for that. I stopped wearing dresses because none of my friends did. I stopped having my favorite color be pink and I started wearing like black and blue and that sort of stuff. As I got older and found my individuality, like once I left primary school and I started seeing more fashion trends and stuff and seeing that, you know, you aren't restricted to just what the people around you are doing, I started exploring wearing more skirts and floral stuff again. And I was like, oh, I actually quite like, you know, this more feminine sort of fashion style. And I started wearing skirts. I started wearing the color pink. And then when I was 13, I exclusively wore dresses. Like, I had 25 dresses. I like built this collection of dresses up. I wore a different dress every day. I never ever wore jeans. I think I owned one pair of jeans. I wore dresses all year round. Nothing else ever. It was just dresses. A lot of them were pink. A lot of them were floral. Dresses and blazers that I stole from my mom. And then when I was 14, I stopped doing that. And then I went back to wearing jeans and stuff because that felt more like who I was at the time. That reflected how I was feeling in the inside. That's just how I felt. And I never wore dresses, ever. I wore jeans and I wore t-shirts and that's how I expressed myself. And that's what fit me. It's when I started dyeing my hair, it's when I started getting piercings. And then as time moved on, I started wearing more color again. You know, back a few years ago, I started really liking the color yellow. So I started incorporating yellow into all of my outfits. And then that grew and evolved. And now I am where I am, where I just wear a lot of color. I dye my hair rainbow instead of just pink or just purple or whatever. And that's where I'm currently at. And I've recently started wearing dresses again, but only very recently have I decided that I like wearing dresses and want to wear more dresses. Like, it changes over time. And like, occasionally it is influenced a bit by the people around you because you learn about the world by the people around you, right? Like, you want to fit in with your friends, or, you know, some people desperately want to be different, but you evolve, you find yourself. And like, a lot of the time you have a pretty like solid feeling of who you are when you're quite young. You sometimes don't act on that because you want to be accepted by your peers, but you like internally know. And yeah, you can definitely change your fashion, the way you dress over time. Clothes are for everyone. Fashion is for everyone. It evolves over time. We express ourselves differently. Like, it's got nothing to do with anything. And the way you dress as a kid certainly does not impact the way you dress as an adult. Absolutely not.
Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy.
Why is there that cis word? Like, why is that there? If we have a worldwide population of 7 billion people.
I think this is a nitpicky thing and doesn't have anything to do with it, but people forget that the population of the world is 8 billion now, which is horrifying. I could go off on a tangent about this, about people being like, we're not having enough children. And it's like, the population of the world when I was 6 billion. Now it's 8 billion. And people are complaining about the lack of population. Like, oh my God. Overpopulation is becoming a really big issue. Like, I feel like we need a lot more people to not have children. We, are really genuinely benefiting if there is a surge of like queer people and people who don't want to have kids. Like that's probably, it's probably good for us. We need to slow down. Everyone's like, the population is decreasing. It absolutely is not decreasing. We fucking need to pause though.
Forgot to tell you, the queer Kiwi also hates Father's Day.
I got so fucking many comments about this. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I haven't watched him say what he's about to say yet, but like, I was so confused because even on TikTok, all of my fucking comments, and I've been getting DMs about it, were being like, you're fucking dumb because you don't believe in Father's Day. You don't think fathers deserve rights. And I'm like, bro, where did you fucking come from? I figured it out. My auntie has a PhD in like feminist history. Her entire job is like writing about women. And so she knows everything. She knows a lot about this sort of stuff.
What an awful existence your poor auntie has. How fucking horrible is that?
How? Why? She really enjoys doing it. I think it's very cool. She knows a lot of really amazing people from history. Like, personally knows people who like led incredible movements. And like gets to go through like the belongings and archives of some really significant and important women in history. And she knows things about women that like other people don't know. And it's so, so cool. How is that a sad and miserable existence, knowing about feminist history? Mother's Day is about women. Father's Day isn't real.
Cool. Remember, kids, hating men is a-okay.
I think that not celebrating Father's Day doesn't mean that you hate men. Like, there's not really a direct correlation there. Like, I celebrate Father's Day. I do celebrate Father's Day. I just don't think it's that important to. It's like Valentine's Day. I don't give a fuck about Valentine's Day. It's made up. It's a consumeristic holiday. That's just a fact. Historically speaking, Mother's Day is very important and Father's Day isn't very important. That's all I was saying. Didn't say you can't celebrate it, just said it's unnecessary. You can celebrate it if you like. Like, I don't care.
You know what I did find out? The Queer Kiwi actually has some sponsors on her channel, which is fun because there's one called Be Educated. And from the website, all I can learn is that it teaches women how to masturbate. I can teach women how to masturbate. Get in there, flick the shit out of that bone and give it a good hard rocket like you're polishing a fucking button.
Okay, firstly, Beducate is much, much more than that. Secondly, never say that ever again. Ever, please. Never, ever, never. Don't. No. Mm-mm.
I'll just say this. Queer Kiwi gives some shout outs on her channel. She shouted out vulva people recently, which is great.
Hello, vulva people. I love being like, she shouted out vulva people recently, and then he shows a video from 2 years ago.
Do you by any chance mean women, mate?
We had this conversation 5 seconds ago. No. I mean, yes, women, but not all women. And also, not everyone who is a woman has a... Not everyone with a vulva is a woman. Not everyone who is a woman has a vulva. So, like, yeah, vulva people. Like, get over it, bro. It doesn't impact you. Shut up. There is no one way to be a woman. There is not a correct way to be a woman.
There's not. You could even have a massive cock and be a woman.
True. Yeah, you're right. Now you're getting it. We just acknowledge that women can be different sometimes. And that frightens you.
Yes, having a penis where there shouldn't be a penis does frighten me.
Why, though? And, like, also having a, like, what do you mean having a penis where you shouldn't have a penis? Like, it's not a shouldn't. It's just, like, some people do and some people don't. Like, you just have to get over it. You just have to get over it, because it's not that big a deal. Stop thinking about people's genitals. It's got nothing to do with you. It's just got nothing to do with you, does it? No, it doesn't.
The Queer Kiwi also has a podcast. Let's have a look at the playlist, shall we? Look at those names. Let's discuss misogyny, biphobia, capitalism, fetishization and sexualization. What a blast. Mate, women should be banned from having podcasts. Let me just say that now.
I fucking love a man saying women should be banned from podcasts. Have you seen podcasts made by men? Have you seen them? Genuinely tell me what's wrong with any of those titles. Firstly, all of those were from 3 years ago. Most of the podcasts now are about K-pop, let's be honest, which I know that you don't care about and think is worse because you're misogynistic. Capitalism, biphobia, coming out. What's the problem with any of those things? Also, fuck you for bringing up the podcast. That was a safe space with very few people actually pay attention to the podcast, and now you violated it. So fuck you, actually. I just realized.
What?
These ignorant men really think that that's what we're doing. I hate my accent from back then. Oh my god, why did I sound so Kiwi? Disgusting. I didn't realize how much my accent had changed since then. Ooh, okay. Anyway.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have caught up with the Queer Kiwi and she's doing amazing things for queer women everywhere. Shout out and all the very best of luck.
Thank you for the best of luck and the shout out there at the end. I'm glad that you're still Australian and doing really well at reminding me of what an Australian man looks like. Because sometimes I forget. Bang Chan and Felix, they distract me. They make me forget that Australian men typically fucking suck. So, okay, well, this was fun. I'm glad that he added absolutely nothing to the conversation, but I'm glad that I was on his mind, so good. Thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate the video. I'm not appreciative of all the people you brought into my comments, though. They're really annoying, okay? They're fucking annoying. They're pissing me off. But, they're all just saying the same thing because they're part of a cult. You want to say that I'm part of a cult? You should see all the comments that your subscribers came and left on my videos and in my DMs, because every single one of them said the exact same thing. Every single one of them. So, we want to talk about sheep here. I have a really good example of them. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed, because I didn't. But also, I kind of did. It was kind of funny. Yeah, if you want to watch the full reaction unedited, it will be up on Patreon, because as I said, I am live streaming at the moment. It's all there. I've been here for an hour now, so that's fun. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge, huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons. Harry, Toulouse, Bobby, Sparrow, Josh, Mandy, Robbie, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Trini, Ida, Raven, Danielle, Inoli Like Cannoli, Elias, Evie, Jewel, Apollo, Taylor is Trying, Boston, and Chris. I love and appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for joining. If you would like to go on Patreon, you go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. For as little as £1 a month, you get my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, and more. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.